I'm coming here from UC Riverside, which is predominantly students of color. Of about 19,000 students, 35% are Asian, 25% Latino, Latina, 7% African American, and 19% white. So it's, I feel very privileged, I really do, to be there and to be in the ethnic studies department. Most of my students in my classes, they are from, or families are from Vietnam, Korea, Japan, Laos, Cambodia, everywhere. I have students from Philippines, El Salvador, Guatemala, various parts of Mexico, from many indigenous communities there in parts of Mexico also. They speak a couple of languages from there, from African countries, Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, etc. So my classes are, in other words, representing diversity. And if we are all students of color or people of color, then I don't know, I'm kind of scared, you know, of what students of color are going to get. Many, or not all of my students, but many of them are first generation in their families to get college degrees. They're from working class or lower middle class families. All of them, or most of them, most of my students are working their way through college. Yeah, my classes embody whatever it is that the UC says, is claiming that they represent in their statement of diversity. It looks like, where I teach looks like the demographic of California. And I was particularly shocked by the letter that was signed by 20 chairs, I think it was 20 UC campus chairs, asking, really, essentially asking to formalize that two-tier system. I was particularly shocked. Anybody read that letter or seen that letter? A few people? San Diego, thank you, yes. And I really liked what Ananya Roy was saying that, you know, or actually before that, my colleague was saying that crisis is a moment of opportunity and that we can actually take this moment and transform it. I really like that. I want to hold on to that. My fear is that as tuition goes up and programs like EOP are slashed, money and gets scarcer, my students will no longer be able to afford to get a college education. It's hard enough for them now in many cases, with, you know, hard for their parents in the Inland Empire, which is struggling at the moment. As I was introduced, I did receive my BA from San Francisco State before I went on to Yale. I'm not first generation, as my father was a professor and an activist, and actually a member of the Oakland chapter of the Black Panthers, yes indeed. So I'm proud to kind of be carrying on in his footsteps. And I know that my experience could never happen if things are going the way they are going, because I worked through college, that was my experience. But what's exciting to me and why I chose to teach at the UC that I'm teaching at is about this commitment to excellence as a right and not a privilege. It's very painful to see this ethos shifting to a meritocratic system where if you have the money, you can get a decent education. If you don't, you're out of luck. Some people are worthy of getting an education because they're smarter and work harder. You know, it's as to reinstate the system of white affirmative action, right, which we have operating at the moment. All of the language of the UC's public statements, such as the annual report on diversity, would indicate an increased level of commitment to maintaining itself as an accessible as well as holding itself to a standard of excellence. But anything can happen under under this cover of a politics of scarcity, which is what Ananya Roy was speaking to, which is what we have. It's a false sense of scarcity. We have a president with emergency powers, right, and no transparency of the budget. And considering that the budget cuts have had and will have no effect on the funding for California's bloated prison system and allows for $700 million in tax breaks for large corporations. I don't buy into it that there is nothing we can do against what UDOF calls a national trend to crowding out education. Public education has not lost its shine, in my opinion. and I'm sure everyone's here, and if our president of the universities can say that with resignation, then I know something else is going on. I don't have much else to say except for that, the department that I come from was the first department to endorse the walkout on September 24th. And that this is a historically politicized space, that now is a place, as my colleague calls it, the central place for the study of contemporary society. So it's so important and so good for me to see students being politicized at particular moments and to see so many people here today. Thank you.